Shaun week, day 4, for people that have diastasis recti and other core injuries. Of course, we have to modify almost every exercise with the exception of the bird dog. You can do the bird dog as we always do. Hands down, knees down. As long as the core is engaged and the back is nice and flat, do that as normal. The rest of them have to follow the rules, and sometimes it's hard to figure out the modifications with all the rules that are involved. That's why I'm doing this video. Let's kind of go over the rules again. Planks, one knee has to be down. Lying on your back, only one leg can lift at a time. No lifting of the head. So as we're keeping those things in mind, let's go through these exercises. The first one was the C-sit with the knee pull. You don't do a C-sit, you sit up nice and tall, okay, and you lift one knee at a time. It might feel really, really tiny, but what I want you to do is draw up from the base of the pelvis all the way into the navel to start engaging with that core. The more that you press your hand and your shin bone against each other, the more of a circuit is going to happen through your body to make the core work even harder. Second exercise is the bridge into a leg extension. And notice when you get onto your back, you roll onto your side first and then onto your back, okay? So you can do bridge safely and tuck the tailbone under you. And if you're ready to, you can do it lift, lift, down, down. Keep the pelvis tucked under and you'll get that nice core engagement from the bottom to the top. Okay, and if you're ready to lift all the way up to the shoulders, that's fine as long as the ribs can stay down and as long as the core can stay engaged. The third exercise being the crunch with a kick down. So we don't do crunches. What we do is single leg lifts. So yours would be this, pressing on the leg as it comes in. Exhale as you press, keep the core engaged. And every time that you press, again, you get that circuit, that chain of events that happens through the core muscles. Then we have a switch kick. So switch kick can happen for you one leg at a time. Start with a bent knee before you try to add the straight leg. So with a bent knee, you have the lift, the lower, the lift, the lower. And make sure, I would even touch it with my hand and make sure that this can stay flat and pulled in before adding a straight leg. And then the final stage would be the legs all the way out, a lift and lower. Take your time here and make sure that it can stay engaged. If it can't, go to a shorter lever, which means keep your knees bent. Okay, figure 4 into the bicycle. Here's what you can do. You can figure 4. You can figure 4 and press against the outside of the knee and keep the core engaged. And then switch legs carefully and then press on the outside of this knee, keeping the core engaged. It adds a flexibility element as well as that circuit chain that we're talking about today. Downward facing dog with a shin tap, we just take the plank out of it altogether. So we get into a downward facing dog, ears between the biceps and hands and feet on the same track. Take the hand across and down, across and down. So we've got a flexibility element here as well as a bit of a balance issue because we're moving the arm. But don't go into the full plank just yet unless you've already checked out of planks and you've completed the exit system in the course. Then we have beast into a knee tap. When you do beast for right now, sorry about that. When you do beast for right now, you're staying in the isometric, you're pressing back into the feet, and you have an isometric chain happening all the way through the core when you do that. So your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips, your feet are flexed. When you push back into your feet without even moving, you should feel this engage and pull up and in. And that's what we're practicing on. So exhale into the isometric, inhale to release it. Exhale and inhale. So when they're in that beast, you're doing your isometrics. Plank, jack with an oblique. You can come down to the forearms, extend one leg out and under and out and under. And as you do that, you're trying to not rock the hips side to side, You're just trying to shoot one leg out at a time. And as you shoot that leg out, keeping the rest of your body still is your core challenge there. So keep it at that when they go into the plank jacks with the obliques. Then we have an oblique spider lunge. Come back up onto your hands, and you're going to take your spider lunge here with a bent knee if you can. It's a nice flexibility element, and push back onto the foot that is on the mat to keep the core engaged. And then back to the center carefully, push onto the other foot and bring this leg up as close to that spider as you can. Flexibility of the hips while pushing into that supporting foot for the core engagement. Then we have the Superman lying on the floor. Okay, so let's get down into prone position, lying on the floor. Anytime we're lying on the floor, be extra careful about what your navel is doing. Tuck your tailbone under you until you feel the navel lift off of the floor, and keep that core strong and engaged. So from here, I want you to just lift your elbows. Lift the elbows, set them down. Lift the elbows, set them down. Okay, so you're strengthening the erector spinae and keeping the core engaged and pulled out of the mat. That is your challenge when they're doing those Superman gliding exercises. Then when they go into the speed bag swimmer, keep the head in line with the spine. Release the arms out to 45 degrees and lift one arm and down and the other arm and down. And if you're feeling ready for it, lift opposite arm, opposite leg and down, opposite arm, opposite leg and down. So you're working all the way through the back, but only do that if you can keep the navel lifted and the core engaged at the same time. If the core is releasing and pushing down, then we're just hurting ourselves. So if you can't keep the core engaged, then just work on the upper body portion. Then we have the bridge the oblique straight legs. So we're back on our back again. Turning back over onto our back, go back into those bridges and get a really good solid tuck with that pelvis and lift and lower. And that is what I would do there. Focus on just getting that pelvic tilt, tucking under and getting a good lift here, keeping the core engaged and spinal articulation down on the mat. As they're lifting and lowering, your head needs to stay down on the mat. The seated canoe. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit up straight with a straight back, shoulders down, back and away from your ears, feet down, planted down on the mat, and you're gonna have your hands like this, and you know, I changed my mind. You're gonna have your hands under your legs, and you're gonna extend one leg and then the other. Okay, so keeping yourself upright, keeping the core engaged as you lift one leg at a time, supported with your hands. That would be what we would do instead of the canoe. We are not doing twisting motions. In case I didn't mention that at the beginning, no twist, please. When they go down into all those basic crunches towards the end, you're gonna be doing basic single leg lifts. So let's get back down on the back, okay? Let's do basic single leg lifts. So we've got one knee up over the hip, set it down, other knee up over the hip, and set it down. Now, if you're focused on this area of the body, then you're working, and it's all staying engaged and nice and long and solid. Like I said in the beginning, if you're getting to the point where you can extend the leg, then try that. Make sure that the core can stay engaged as you extend that leg. And then the final stage being going into and out of a full straight leg. So when they end with that flutter kick, if you're at this level, go ahead and do the long legs, but the core has to be able to be in the whole time. And if it cannot do that, then you're going into a bent knee and adjusting your range of motion as you need to. Safety is number one. Remember that you have an injury, and your number one priority is healing the injury and moving forward, because everything will function better when you're healed and healthy. Thank you. I know that was a lot, but if you're working through Shaun Week, use those modifications. Take your time. Get a core day in, but do it the right way for you. Thanks so much.